Today, I am going to talk about how to avoid online radicalization. When we talk about online radicalization, parents mostly think about things like Snapchat or Discord, YouTube, all of these platforms. For me, what I look at and what I study is the parenting approach. So today I'm going to break this down into 5 little sections. The video is only going to be about 20 minutes. And at the end of this video, you will be left with some very simple, doable strategies to help you support your kids to avoid any online radicalization, plus some tips and tricks to help you stay connected with your kids in the online world. So the 5 sections that I'm going to break down are, I've got it all written down here. The number 1, the real risk factors for radicalization. Number 2, why punishment backfires and increases screen time conflicts. Number 3, how democratic parenting and children's rights play a role in keeping kids safe online. Number 4, practical strategies and tips for you to take away that are doable right after you watch this video. Number 5, finally, the bigger picture, what families need to know and what you can do to advocate for a safer online world. The first thing to talk about is the real risk. Screen time isn't the enemy. I know it's not what most parents want to hear. It's not the enemy. It's not the screens. It's the adults. It's not the screens. It's the authoritarianism. It's not the screens. It's the exploitation. It's not the screens. It's the punishment. You name it, it's the adults. That's the risk, which means there's a lot here that you as parents can do to ensure your kids are safe online. The truth is, when kids are heard, when they're able to participate, when they belong, they're not going to go and run off to some radicalized corner of the internet. Just like when kids have belonging at home, they stay, close to their parents, they cooperate. Children are just like you. When you feel connected to somebody, you jive well. When you don't, you're out of there. That's what needs to happen. It's not the screens, it's the relationships and the bigger context of the home. So the real risk is in families under stress. So keeping that in mind, that when the home is under stress for whatever reason, that creates vulnerability. And this is what puts kids at risk. That's the real risk. It's not the screens, it's the adults, and it's also vulnerability. The second part is that punishment backfires. If you're spending a lot of time shaming and yelling and taking away screens and spanking and doing all of the things because you don't have a plan, then that's backfiring. It's likely you're repeating yourself over and over again. And every time you use this kind of punishment, the relationship between you and your kids gets more fractured. It becomes more distressful. Remember, punishment helps nobody. Hey, in fact, the World Health Organization just released a major report showing that punishment has no benefit at all. In fact, it leads to worse outcomes. Punishment leads to addiction in later in life. It can lead to more violence in later in life. Challenge in solving problems on your own. It leads to poor learning outcomes, cognitive disorders. It leads to mental health disorders. And it also leads to bullying. Parents, punishment doesn't work. And I would argue this is the reason we have all of these social problems in general. So that's my punishment rant. It's not working. Instead of punishment, what can you do? Well, this is where, I know you grew up with punishment. I know. I work with parents all day, every day, moving from punishment because that's how we grew up. And then the decades of the brain happened. So neuroscience came. We started understanding toxic stress, recognizing that when children's brains are under stress, when anybody's under stress, but children in particular are more vulnerable because they're they're growing so quickly that these brains can lead to fight, flight, freeze, but that can also, inhibit the executive functions and the development and the skills around that. And these are skills like focus, task initiation, short term memory, flexibility, prioritization, time management, and so much more. So you're frustrated because your kids are struggling around routines probably, and they're staying online, and oh my goodness, you punish them. And there is this cycle. So, what to do instead? Democratic parenting is about honoring your children's rights. In fact, there's no other framework on the whole planet Earth that can promote your child's well being more than by empowering their rights. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child has outlined it all. And these articles actually empower children. And so, for instance, Article 12, your child's right to be heard, right? They have a right to, be a part of the decisions affecting them. And this means no more obedience, right? It means collaboration. It means giving them space. It means providing an audience, and it means that their ideas and experiences have influence over the outcomes. The other article to think about is Article 17. Children have a right to access information. When they don't have access to information, they will find it. They also have a right to access justice, and remembering that, because in the online world, children are actually doing a lot of reporting and learning about consent in their bodies and finding belonging in their culture and identity and all of this wonderful stuff online. And so keep that in mind too. The other article to think about is children have a right to be free from violence. This isn't just physical violence, psychological and emotional violence. Children are no different than you. When your rights are violated, what do, right? What do, parent? I know. You resist. Children are part of the Rebel Alliance. They know when their rights are being infringed upon and breached. They will resist. They will become oppositional. So, as a practitioner, it's something I always watch for, right? When children are struggling with behavior and being oppositional, first thing in my mind, what right is being violated? So, this is really important to think about. Democratic parenting is about collaborative parenting. It's about honoring, teaching, and modeling your child's rights. So, if you're not sure what your children's rights are, that's a great place to start. Now, I want to give you 5 practical strategies on how to keep your kids safe online and avoid radicalization. And these are probably going to surprise you, but I promise you can do them right away. Number 1, co-create a family media plan. This is super important. And I know, just start with what your goals are. Find out what your kids want. I want this. I want that. Find out, get a bunch of goal statements down. Then find out if there's any common goals, the we want together, because you might learn some really interesting experience and ideas from your kids, and they're also going to learn from you. This collaboration, the process alone, can help reduce conflict and bring in more collaboration. The goal is to be connected to you, right? That's what is most important, because that's what's going to keep them safe, is your relationship. Your child might say, I like being online because I like looking up fast cars for 5 hours. Write it down. You might say, I don't like you being online because you're not doing the dishes, or you're not coming off the screens when I ask you to. And Johnny might say to you, well, Mom, after school, I need your time and I want to tell you about school, but you're always on your phone. Write it down. Do not judge. Write it all down. The issues matter. They need airtime and they are valuable. Then see if there's any common ground. Really co-create a plan together, come up with an agreement. You might have to revisit that a few times. The next one is be curious. So co-create, then be curious. Curiosity is so important, that your children need to know that you're curious about what they're doing online and that you're interested in it. Children actually report a lot that they wish their parents understood more about the games that they play. They wish that they understood more about what they do online, that the parents are more up to date and hip with all this stuff. So parents, be curious. The other part about this is really important, is that we don't want to be siloed into doing one thing online. So keep an eye on what your kids are doing and explore the internet together. Find out more information. Go to some really cool websites. Learn together. Explore. Like, you have a whole world there. Curiosity is going to really help. Number 3, teach critical thinking. Understand what propaganda is. right? Make sure that you're helping kids understand what the extremist tactics are. Being vulnerable online is the highest risk of all. Critical thinking skills, you really, really scrutinize, what you're seeing online. Everything might not be real. Your friend online, your child's friend, they've been talking to for a year, might not be who they think they are. The next one, model good digital citizenship. If your child sees you losing your online, and then they're likely going to do that. And, being online is bad, right? Everything's bad and problem focused. Digital citizenship fosters relationships online. They're not afraid of relationships. So make sure that you're pointing out what's going well and that you teach your kids the right way to use the internet. Make sure they're not a bystander for bullies, that kind of thing, and let them know that, what digital citizenship looks like. And finally, do not weaponize screens. This is such a trap. Using screens as a punishment, a threat, or a bribe in any way at all is unhelpful. And it says that the screens are bad when honestly, it's not the screens, it's the adults. So stay connected. Research shows over and over again, when you pull too hard and you become too restrictive of anything, anyone does that, people are going to want it more. So I always say, love what your kids love. If it's screens, you love it too. Make sure that you're with them together and connected. There we have it. Co-create, stay curious, critical thinking skills, model digital citizenship. Do not weaponize screens. Okay, now we have to talk about the bigger picture here, because like I said over and over and over again, it's not the screens, right? It's the adults, it's the government. We need to ensure and push your MP or whoever it is in your town to make sure they center the rights of children. And I cannot say this enough, not just in your local government, but your provincial and your national governments, but also in your workplaces, your union core documents. Children's rights need to be centered, because the way things have always gone is it's an adultist world, right? Just like the economy, things trickle down, doesn't always reach the most vulnerable. We can no longer assume that when adults are comfortable and taken care of, that they're automatically going to take care of children. Come on. That's not true. The other thing to think about too is we have to hold platforms accountable. Anytime you use a reporting button or you see a loop, make sure that you let platforms know. Yes, there are very nefarious actors that are exploiting the kids, for sure. They're exploiting those vulnerable kids. So making sure when you see it, you report it. The last thing I want to say is that stress, poverty, marginalization, all of this leads to stress in families, and vulnerability is one of the highest risks of all. And what you can do is to make sure that you're connected to your kids. That connection and loving what they love and going through this journey together is the most powerful, powerful tool and weapon you have to ensure that your kids are not radicalized online. And I've got lots more to say. So please like this video, please subscribe to the video, and or subscribe to my channel, I guess, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'm going to also in the description leave a link to get a hold of me. I'm happy to talk more with you about this topic. I'm feeling pretty confident that there's no screen time conflict that I can't support parents with now after this many years doing this work. But yeah, toot my own horn. Anyways, thanks for being here, and I look forward to making the next video.